Hey guys, what's going on? Jeff here and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be talking about what I believe is about to be a major rally on Bitcoin. There's a very high likelihood that the bottom that we just saw at $80,000 last week is going to hold at least for the next few weeks. I think that Bitcoin is probably about to rally back up to at least 94, but maybe as high as $100,000. And in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly why. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Before we get started, I do want to let you know that today's video is sponsored by Kraken. More on Kraken a little bit later, but very excited to have them on as a sponsor today. Make sure you sign up for Kraken with the link down below. All right, let's get started. As you know, Bitcoin has entered what may end up being the first leg of a bear market, and that is interesting because it gives us a lot to go off of. Bitcoin has obviously gone through about 3 to 4 different bear markets in its past, and they typically follow a very similar strategy. Bitcoin will drop off of the all-time high a considerable distance and then bounce and rally back up to the 50 weekly moving average before rejecting and falling into the depths of the bear market. So far, Bitcoin seemingly has completed the first leg of what could be a 4-year halving cycle bear market. We don't really know yet. It could also just be a mid-cycle crash. Bitcoin has not confirmed one way or the other what we're doing, but either way, Bitcoin's next major level of resistance is going to be right here at the 50 weekly moving average. And what you will see here is that the 50 weekly moving average right now sits right here just a shy bit above 100,000, sitting right here at 102,000. And so what we're going to see happen over the next couple of weeks as Bitcoin theoretically moves up here is that it's going to fall over because we're below 100,000. So by the time we get there, it's probably going to be sitting just shy above $100,000 as resistance. Bitcoin over the last few hours has put in a major rally here, which gives us confidence that Bitcoin is going to rally back up towards at least 94, if not $100,000, because here at 88,000, Bitcoin attempted an overside underside test. We attempted an underside test again, but what ended up happening is that Bitcoin was stuck here below the 200 hourly moving average. But when we broke above it, we actually put into motion a golden cross between the 50 and the 200. We also saw RSI spike up here in MACD, which I don't currently have up, but MACD also showed a cross as well. Let's bring that up and you'll be able to see. You can see that MACD is looking extremely bullish as well for Bitcoin. You had this big cross here on the hourly chart. 4-hourly chart is about to cross bearish, but didn't. Started diverging again. So overall, we saw a lot of very bullish movement. But a big part of the reason why this level was so important was because it actually doesn't represent a major level of support on Bitcoin, but it represents a major level of support and resistance on the total chart. This is the $3 trillion line on total market cap. And so Bitcoin breaking above here was a big deal because we broke through $3 trillion. And now Bitcoin is coming up here to test the 300 hourly moving average, which also coincides with 90,000. A big part of the reason why we saw this breakout was because a major short liquidation took place when Bitcoin broke above that moving average, that 200 hourly moving average. And so what we ended up seeing was about $100 million worth of shorts get liquidated recently. About $80 million worth of shorts got liquidated around noon Eastern time today, and that is what caused Bitcoin to rally up to this level. But now the question becomes, where does Bitcoin go from here? Well, Bitcoin has been in one continual downtrend ever since 116,000, and typically what you would expect to see happen is for Bitcoin to rally back up to the 0.618 when recovering off of a major uptrend here. And the interesting thing about that level is that the 0.618 on this downtrend coincides perfectly at 102 with where the 50 weekly moving average is. All in all, it makes the most sense from a Fibonacci standpoint, from an overall just price action analysis standpoint, and also from a sentimental standpoint that Bitcoin will rally very soon up towards $100,000 to $102,000, testing the 50 weekly moving average. And then if Bitcoin is able to break through the 50 weekly moving average, then this was a mid-cycle correction and Bitcoin's going into super cycle in 2026. If, as Bitcoin has always done, it rejects at the 50, then that's where we would plunge down into the depths of the bear market between about 50 to 60,000. Now, we've talked about bear market forecasts quite a bit on this channel, so I'm not going to go into that right now, but I will tell you that our price prediction for a bear market, if we had a traditional 4-year halving cycle bear market, would be approximately 50 to 60,000. If we rally up to the 50 weekly moving average and we break through it, then that would likely mean that we're going into a super cycle, and 2025 and 2026 would both be green years, which would validate the hypothesis that Bitcoin is going on an 8 to 10 year bull market post ETF launch the same way that gold did after the ETFs launched in the early 2000s. Gold would go on to rally like 800% over the next 8 years after the ETFs launched, having no major bear markets in the interim. And so that might be what happens, is that Bitcoin is having its IPO moment, as everyone's talked about. We needed this massive sell-off so that convicted players like myself and like you could buy in, the tourists could get shaken out, and the leverage could get reset so that Bitcoin could go through the rally. So at this point in time, my prediction is that Bitcoin is going to rally back up to the 50 weekly moving average. That is a very high likelihood, like north of 90% likelihood Bitcoin's going to rally back up to at least 94,000, if not up to 100,000. So from that standpoint, that's very likely going to happen. But then the question comes down to, are we going to break the 50? Well, let's talk about that. It just so happens that in 11 days, about 11, 12 days, we're going to see something happen that will probably help to determine whether or not we're going to break through that level. And that will be one of two things. Number one, on the 10th of December, which is 13 days from now, we have an 85% likelihood of having a rate cut from the Federal Reserve. If this occurs, this could lead Bitcoin above the 50, breaking it and breaking the 4-year halving cycle. If we see a surprise no rate cut, and the market and the rate does not change, then at that point in time, that would almost certainly guarantee a bear market. So if Jerome Powell does not cut rates in December, as he said that we should not be pricing that in because it might not happen, if the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, does not cut rates, then that's probably going to cause a rejection, both temporally and price action wise, off of the 50 weekly moving average, because that is going to be taking place on this day right here, right over here. We're going to be seeing the rate cut decision taking place like right here. So it's very possible that Bitcoin just grinds up here and is at the 50, at 100,000, finding strong resistance at the convergent level of resistance at 100K and the 50 weekly. You see the rate cut not happen. That's just too much for Bitcoin to bear. We fall over. And then at that point in time, all of this was a dead cat bounce. You go into a bear market. On the other hand, if Bitcoin rallies up here before the rate cut, we break through it, we fall back, and then as we're back testing, then we have the rate cut, then we could bounce off, create this big inverse head and shoulders pattern, and go significantly higher. And that would actually make a lot of sense as well, because if you look at the liquidation map, what you're going to find is that there are an enormous amount of short liquidations sitting just above 107,000. That recent local high. If you look here, the vast majority of short liquidity is taking place above 107,000. So if Bitcoin does hit 107,000, it's gonna just kind of like hit just a moving walkway and just shoot straight towards 100 and 120K because of all these shorts that'll get liquidated. This is here on Binance. You can take a look at Hyperliquid. It's the exact same story. The vast majority of the short liquidations are sitting right there above 107K. That's Hyperliquid and Binance. Let's look at Bybit. You can see all these big exchanges. The short liquidity is sitting right up there at 107. Let's take a look. Let's look at some others here. For example, if you look at Kraken, Kraken, sponsor of today's video, massive exchange, lots of data over there. Look at Kraken. You can see all that short liquidity is sitting right there above 107. So all the bears are saying that if Bitcoin is below 107, we're in a bear market. Above 107, that's where we're going to get liquidated on our shorts. And so if Bitcoin is able to hit 107, then great. But the problem is, not a lot of short liquidity up and until 107. So you don't really have this massive just runway up to 107 on short liquidity, because the vast majority of the shorts have their liquidation above 107. So at the end of the day, the deck is stacked against the bulls right now. But if the bulls are able to get up to the 50, break through it, and just tag 107 just for a moment, then that's where you can get a lot of shorts getting liquidated. A lot of people that are short panic buying to cover the short trades, which could then send Bitcoin up to 115, 116, 120. At that point in time, you're looking at a new bull market, and Bitcoin would probably rally up towards 130, 140. On the other hand, the more likely scenario at this point in time is that Bitcoin rallies to the 50 and rejects off of it, and we go into a deeper bear market, as you have this lagging effect from quantitative tightening coming to an end. If you'll recall, Bitcoin did not just go into this massive bull market right when quantitative tightening ended in the last cycle. It took longer than that. If we bring up the USC BBS, it took longer, right? Quantitative tightening ended right here, and Bitcoin actually dropped 50% over the next 6 months after QT ended. So a lot of people are saying, oh, look, quantitative tightening is coming to an end. Bitcoin's going to rally. Yes, maybe 6 months from now. But historically, actually, when QT ends, the last time we saw that happen, Bitcoin from the day QT ended dropped 50% over 180 days. That'd be a full bear market down to 50,000. So actually, QT ending is not necessarily the bullish event that you think it is in the short term. If anything, QT ending could cause this correction, which doesn't look like that much from outer space out here. But when you zoom in, what you're going to see is that Bitcoin crashed from $11,000 all the way down to $3,000. Now, I have such a fond memory of this market. And part of the reason I have such a fond memory of this market is because it is actually a period in the market when I was buying Bitcoin. As you can see here, today's video is sponsored by Kraken. I wanted to show you my Kraken account because I've had my Kraken account since the day I got into crypto. It was actually the first cryptocurrency exchange I made on July 31st, 2017. I made 3 accounts. I made a Gmail account, I made a Hashflare account, I made a Kraken account, and I bookmarked CoinMarketCap. Kraken is the very first crypto exchange I have ever invested in. And so I want to go back here and show you one of our older transactions here. This is a transaction of me buying 0.26 Bitcoin at $11,300 a coin back on June 25th, 2019. I love Kraken. I've always loved Kraken, and I'm very pleased that today's video is sponsored by Kraken. Just to show you, this was a 0.26 Bitcoin that I bought June 25th, 2019. That's why I say that this is such a fond market that I remember, right? It was back over here. June, something right here, right? We were buying in this area, and we were buying on a bunch of different places. We were buying a lot of Bitcoin back here, right? So love this period of the market, and it does remind me how much I just love Kraken. So let me tell you a little bit about Kraken, and just humor me here. You're going to be glad you did. Kraken is a phenomenal cryptocurrency exchange. There's a reason that I've used it for almost a decade, and that is because it is extremely user-friendly. It gives you everything that you need to succeed, and it is a great gateway between Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and the fiat world. A lot of people have different problems with other large exchanges. Kraken, I have never heard anybody say a bad word about Kraken. They do a phenomenal job. They have a great user interface. It's very simple. It is the best place to do your fiat to cryptocurrency gateway. It's the best place. It is the best place to get fiat currency into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. There's actually a reason why I got my dad a Kraken account. He wants to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I said, I know where to take you. I signed him up for Kraken. That was a while ago, right? But I wanted him to have a user-friendly, really simple, very powerful exchange where he could do everything that he needed in one place. I signed my dad up for a Kraken account a little over a year ago. He wants to invest in Bitcoin. I said, I got you. I'm going to sign you up for Kraken. This is what our family uses. So I love Kraken. If you guys have not already seen from what I'm telling you that Kraken's amazing, then I don't know how to explain it for you. They've got all the features. I'd be here for the next hour trying to explain everything, but they got a really phenomenal app. The app is amazing. If you go into Kraken, they've also got an advanced mode over here, which is very helpful. You can do all of your advanced trading. They've got, they've got leverage trading. They've got all kinds of different, just everything that you would need. Everything that you would need to succeed in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space. It's here. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful exchange. It's very easy to use. It's where you want to be. So if you guys have not already, I highly recommend that you sign up for Kraken with the link in the description box down below. And again, the reason I want you to do that is because I want you to have a strong fiat to cryptocurrency gateway where in the same exchange, you're also going to get all of the tools that you need. You don't need to have a bunch of different cryptocurrency exchanges. You can use just Kraken and do everything that you need. So if you've not already, make sure to sign up for Kraken with the link in the description box down below. I'm a huge fan of the platform. Oh, and by the way, I also want to mention this. $1.5 billion in spot trading volume, founded in 2011. They are one of the first cryptocurrency exchanges. They've been here for over a decade. You're not going to get that from just about anybody else, that veterancy, that experience. So make sure you sign up for Kraken with the link in the description box down below. Quick recap. QT is not necessarily this super bullish event. QT ended right here in 2019. What happened? Bitcoin immediately crashed. After quantitative tightening ended, it immediately crashed 30%. Immediately it crashed 30%. So QT ending in the next month is not necessarily a bullish catalyst for Bitcoin. In fact, it's very possible that QT ending in the next few days could cause Bitcoin to reject off of the 50 and drop lower. So we should not just be of the opinion right now that Bitcoin's going to go right back to all-time high. It's going to take time for Bitcoin to run it back to ATH. And honestly, I am hoping and praying that quantitative tightening starting is what it takes quantitative tightening ending. I hope that's what it takes for Bitcoin to drop lower, because I would love to get entries down at 70, 75. I'd love to do that on Kraken. I'd love to get solid entries down on Bitcoin at those levels. So if you have not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we are coming at you every single day with content teaching you about how to succeed in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space. And the most important thing that you can do is have those low limit orders to catch those falling knives and say, I'm going to buy this Bitcoin, I'm going to hold it for 5 years. We're not trying to catch a falling knife on a long trade because you get liquidated doing that. But we want to get those low entries on those long-term positions where we say, we're going to hold this for 5 years, 10 years. So I highly encourage you, if we do reject off of that 50, start putting cash together because you're going to want to acquire Bitcoin the way I did at $11,000, as you just saw on Kraken. There's a bunch of other transactions in there as well of me buying Bitcoin down at those levels that I could show you. But I just wanted to show you one example. If you have not already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed today's piece of content. Also, make sure to follow us on X at CryptoJeb. And guys, I appreciate you all being here. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.